Good afternoon, one and all present here. This is Danush, Planet from Planetech Media House. Planetech Media House is an independent media house that offers a reliable source of information, articles, and news. We are here with another episode of webinar Crafting Transformative Information. Webinar is all about corporate marketing strategy with six reliable and resourceable speakers out there. The first speaker would be Hital Sonpal sir, who is an dynamic and accomplished business leader with 20 plus years in tech industry and alumnus of NMIMS Mumbai. He has also worked as a senior management role spanning across the Asia Pacific, Japan for four major multinationals, Wipro, Microsoft, LinkedIn, and Intel. He is also a startup evangelist, a prominent angel investor with a portfolio of 25 plus startups across different segments of business, entrepreneurs, and consumer. Hetal is a mentor of change for Niti Yoga and is mentoring school children on innovation programs. He is an innovation speaker, has spoken at many prominent B schools and colleges across India. He is also a fitness enthusiastic who have 17 half and 9 full marathons and completed half Ironman in 2018 and also read 100 books in 2018 and loves to share his earnings from his reading and running experience. He has written numerous articles on various topics on LinkedIn for the latest 2 years. We would like to welcome you on the Planet Tech Media House. Over to you, sir.
Hey, thanks a lot to Dhanush and Planetech Media for this opportunity. When I was approached for this topic, I was pretty impressed because not many people in the social media are giving as much focus to marketing as we should. Living in a post-lockdown and pre-lockdown world, where the previous lockdown has just ended and there is already strong rumors about the next lockdown coming up. uh, Everyone is focusing on sales or lack of sales, but very few people are focusing on marketing. And I strongly believe that if someone is going to really rise up post lockdown, post corona, it's going to be a company which really puts in their money and bets their money on marketing rather than sales. They need to convince someone to stay at your resort in Goa. Your standard plain vanilla selling trick is not going to work. You will need to create a different need, right? You might want to target boredom, which is what a large population of people have had a problem complaining during the lockdown. And how do you convince someone that spending an awesome 4 days, 3 nights in Goa in your resort is the best solution to boredom or whatever, right? I think that's the big change as far as the impacted industry is concerned. The second element which comes in obviously is the industries which are not impacted. What can they do different? Because if you're not impacted, then the competition is pretty much the same for you, right? You don't have competition which has dropped out. You don't have products which you're not competing with, which makes your life anyway easier, right? So you're more or less on the even keel as far as industries which are not impacted is concerned. I think the question comes up is in terms of which are the industries which emerge new, which become significantly prominent compared to what they were earlier, right? Education, digital education. I think it's hands-on winner, right? Working from home means higher communication technology like Zoom and its competitors like say Namaste, as the Indian competition is called, right? Those are emerging industries. Those are industries which have a great future going forward. Food and food delivery has been outstanding, right? I mean, yes, overall, I think food delivery has been impacted, but the need for food delivery will re-emerge as extremely strong. And when I say food delivery, I obviously mean the companies, the startups or companies which produce food, the companies which are providing the last mile delivery, and companies which are portals like a Swiggy or a Zomato, which become more like a marketplace for different food options, right? So they're going to boom again. They're going to come up big time, and I think there again the differentiated marketing strategy will definitely hold true. The reason being that all the canned content which has been viewed, a Swiggy or a Zomato ad which was seen pre-lockdown, is kind of boring now. So they really need to come up with fresh marketing campaigns, which will require a fresh production team and fresh investment, which is not going to be easy if you are an early stage startup. Only if you're an established startup can you afford to do this, which makes it very interesting in terms of who will go the extra mile in terms of coming up with innovative marketing campaign in an industry which is already booming. The CEO will say, hey, why should I be spending this money I might as well spend that money on geo expansion or come up with some new products. And there I see more bang for the buck. But in reality, you might need to put in that extra effort continuously on your existing marketing and product lines to be able to sustain what you're trying to do. So I covered different marketing channels. I've covered the different industries, impacted, not impacted, and how their marketing campaigns are going to be different. I think that the third and the most important element, which I would like to cover and conclude my 10-minute talk with this, is a consumer. The consumer sentiment has changed completely. More than one webinar I've attended, and I've heard this coming up extremely strongly, that market research is going to reinvigorate. Market research is going to be done all over again. A 25 something in Delhi does not think the same way as he thought 6 months back. He's frustrated. He's jobless. He's irritated. He wants to reward, and yet he doesn't have any arms and ammunitions to be able to do any of this. So he's sitting dumb idiot in the house. What do you say to him? How do you motivate him? How do you encourage him to spend money when he doesn't know where his next meal is going to come from? So these are realities which a large number of consumers need to see. Obviously, I tried taking an example which is very simple and obvious, to 25 something, but I probably spent about a year, 2 years in the industry, which means he is uh, dispensable. You can easily do away with him, right? Whereas if someone is a 45 something, he's equally dispensable in an organization which has been badly hit. And they will obviously look at people who are gray haired, lesser, a lot more than what I am. I'm not that gray haired, so I would definitely not want to get categorized in that segment. But people who are significantly, been doing the same job over a long period of time and are facing the axe, right? How do you sell products to them? How do you encourage them to spend, right? That makes it interesting as well. So I think in a nutshell, post-COVID era, the different marketing channels, the different industries and how they perform from a marketing campaign perspective, including the new emerging industries. And third and most important, the consumer sentiment. I think these need to be studied extremely deeply by a marketing manager before he goes up to his CEO or CXO and proposes the next marketing campaign, which needs to be launched in third week of June or fourth week of June. That's when I think the lockdown would have truly opened up, and many opportunities would emerge. I would like to pause here. I know I could probably talk for an hour on this, but with due respect for my fellow panelists who obviously are also looking for sharing their views on very interesting topics, that's all for me. Dhanush, thank you.
That was really amazing to hear about this marketing strategies in post-COVID. I really liked all your technical things which you put it at 10 minutes. I know it is too tough to get all this things done in 10 minutes, but you have covered all the things. Thank you so much for being on Planet Tech Media House, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And let's get back to the session. And we do have a second speaker from the webinar session of corporate marketing. She's Ritika Madhan, who's a corporate marketing communication and also a She Shows champion and TED felicitator. We welcome you on a platform of Planet Tech Media House. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much for this platform. I am sorry for logging in late. There were too many technical, glitches today, but it is so amazing to see such vibrant co-panelists along with me. A virtual hi to everybody out here. It is great to e-connect with you all. Talking about me, I am Ritika Madan. I am donning multiple hats right now, apart from being a professor of marketing with the leading education group in India. I'm on board with latest on all the leading entrepreneurial organizations that you can even talk about, from Lean In to She Rose to TED Ed with Invest Punjab and Startup India. I am just like, hand in every pie. And thank you, the Media House, for reaching out to me and, giving me this platform to talk about the corporate branding, marketing, strategies. And on this note, I would just talk about one topic that is very close to my heart, which is personal branding. And on that note, I would, just simply would like to begin with, that we all have a personal brand, whether we know it or we do not know it. When you actually, Google yourself, what pops up when you write your name. So these results are the, first impression that people have of you, whether whether it's a good one or it's a bad one. So whatever information that you're sharing across, LinkedIn, your Facebook and other social media sites, The personal branding is talking about that whether it is all consistent or not. So I always talk about this with my students, when they are picking up jobs, or when people are taking up their consultancy with me, that whether you have a date or you have a job interview, that the chances are that someone is going to Google you to learn more about you. So in that case, the question is that do you want to allow your online reputation to take a life of its own, or you want to control the narrative. So in that case, I really like that people, or nowadays, that the work culture that is coming up, people are doing business with people. The brand comes quite later. Technically, your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. So the term branding gets reserved just for the businesses. But with the advent of social sites and the gig economy work culture that is coming up, I think personal branding has become very, very fundamental. Talking about that the skills and the experiences that you have, it is how you present yourself to the world. Your effective personal branding will differentiate you from your competition, and allow you to build trust with prospective clients and employers. Talking about when we give examples of famous people. If you talk about, okay, who's Elon Musk, we all know about him. Later comes the company. Who's talking about Mark Zuckerberg? We all know him, that he is the person who's leading Facebook. It is not like, okay, if we ask you, okay, who's the CEO of Khata Book, we would hardly remember the name, because the people are not talking about it. So I think along with your organization, it is very, very imperative for you to build up your personal brand. And seeing how the work culture is dynamically changing, all thanks to this COVID pandemic, the work culture, the scenario, the SOPs of all the brands and their digital presence have changed, like it's taken a U shape. So in that case, you not only have to curate marketing strategies for your brand, but you also have to come out and talk about it. That is where the video marketing has has soared up, where the CEOs or the CMOs or the CTOs, they come out, they have those virtual interactions. Suddenly the webinars have increased, and these webinars are all comprised of people who are representing different organizations. So in that case, when you hear those webinars, you would not say that Ritika spoke well, or Neha spoke well. You would not say that, okay, Ritika was a Shiro, so Shiro's wali ne acha bola, ya some other organization ABC, she spoke well. You would all just remember the names. And in that case, wherever you go the next time, people would remember you by your name, not by your organization. So in that case, I really feel that seeing this dynamic culture, the role of personal branding has really come up. So whether you are an employee, or you are an entrepreneur, or you are just picking up a new job in the market post pandemic, cultivating a personal brand has become very, very important. And if you talk about this research, a lot of people in my the people that I work with, they talk about that 70% of the the employers, they use social media to screen candidates during the hiring process. And around 40% of the employers, they use social media to check on what kind of posts their current employees are posting. So personal branding is also beneficial from the employer's perspective also. In that case, companies should actually encourage employees to build up strong personal brands, because it is actually a good business, and it actually fetches you also good business. So when the employees are they are allowed to represent their company at conferences or at events, they're not only developing themselves, but they are also providing the organization more exposure. So I think this should be the new culture that I think every company should adopt. And employees, they not only can help you acquire new customers, or help you in various retention strategies, especially when they are viewed as trustworthy thought leaders. Thirdly, I would like to talk about here is that this personal branding has become very valuable, because this gig economy that we are all talking about, is not going away anytime soon. So the average person is now, switching jobs, every 2 to 3 years. And by, 2020, I was reading a recent, an article that, this freelance and contract workers will make up almost, 47% of the, workforce. So as a result, you can talk about, that, the employees or the workers, they will have to, clearly, communicate who they are and what they do to stand out to the prospective clients and employers. So coming back to the main point, so if you aren't actually effectively managing your online reputation, then you run the risk of losing out on business. So I would just say all the people who are listening out to me, whether you are amidst your career, or you are about to begin your career, or you are thinking to build up a brand of yours, or starting your own business, in that case developing a personal brand doesn't happen overnight. First point is that though it is very imperative for you to build it up, it is very important to you communicate your purpose and mission to your audience in a very, very genuine way. You all know about this Oprah Winfrey, how she's the undoubtedly the queen of personal branding, how she has continuously built up her equity with her own brand. So she's always stuck to her core competency, challenging people, the challenging viewers to live the best lives possible by understanding their potential. Another example that comes to my mind right now is of Richard Branson, who's undeniable, one of the most visible and successful and well-known men alive, and how he's always talking about his business, his vision, his airlines. So in that case, I think we all need to build up texture, build up character, and build up public trust, so that we have that idealized and perfected image of ourselves in the mind of people out there. So whoever is listening out to me, get focused, be determined, start communicating out your thoughts, your expressions, articulate them very well. Read stories of people who motivate you. I would not just say success stories. I would also suggest you to read the failure stories, because they motivate you better, and you actually understand the gaps that have been, not taken care of, and why their businesses failed. So I think reading both, making a blend, penning down your own potential, do a SWOT analysis of yourself, write down things that you are great about, write down things that that you can do, hone out your skill set, start writing about it. Whatever you've done, whatever you've achieved till date, start pinning down them in small paragraphs, start posting them, start building up your traction wherever social media platform that you are comfortable on. And if you're seeking out new jobs, be very, very active on LinkedIn. That is extremely important. So even if you do not get 50 likes or 100 likes, do not worry. Your visibility, your presence is the most important thing. And when you are actually talking and writing sense, people will eventually start following you. So personal branding does not happen overnight. You have to really make an effort, so that whatever business then you start with, people start aligning your persona, your skill set with that particular brand. So that is how you can actually build up your own brand, your own success story. And then of course, then all the media houses are going to cover you with all the shutter clicks and all the good blogs out there. So that was my takeaway for the strategies that people, the entrepreneurs, the midterm careers, they all can start writing about their personal stories. Because end of the day, we all want to be known by our name. I do not want to be known as someone who's doing TED or someone who's been associated with Shiro's. I want to be known by my own name, by Ritika. All these things just add designation to my my brand. So end of the day, start working on your own name enhancement. That is one tip that I would like to give it out here. And that's all from my side. Over to the questions. Thank you, everyone.
That was really amazing to hear about your views on personal branding, and I really learned a lot of things. To be frank, it was an amazing session to have you on a Planetech Media House, ma'am. Thank you so much. We'll be having an interaction session at the last when all the speakers finish their talk.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm all ears to everybody who's here, Neha, Madhu, and Megha. I'm all ears to listen to you and empowering the women next to me.
Now let's get back to the session of webinar crafting transformative information. And our next speaker would be Suresh Babu, who is also a founder and CEO of Web Marketing Academy. We welcome you on the platform of Planetech Media House, sir. Over to you.
Thank you. Hi. Good afternoon. How are you guys doing? I think it'll be good. Instead of me talking, I'm looking forward for what others are talking, and I'm waiting for the Q&A session. I think that's where we get a lot of things. Just to give an idea about who I am, I was born originally in a small village in between Ooty and Coonoor, and I run this academy called Web Marketing Academy. But when I started my career, there was no college in Ooty, so I have to go to Coimbatore, and I did my hotel management. In 1993, I started in hotel management, and since I did not get any opportunity in any other college, I accidentally got into hotel management. So I did my hotel management. 96, I was teaching for a couple of years, and then I had an opportunity to go to Miami and work in a cruise ship as an assistant cook. So I started my career as an assistant cook in a cruise ship, and especially in 1999, and from a village, a small village like us, somebody going abroad was a big deal. So it was a big deal for me. So it was a 10 months contract, so I have to work in the ship for 10 months, and we got 3 months vacation. So the first time I came back in 2000, and it was fascinating to see, for me, going somewhere abroad was a big deal too. So when I came down with my cousins in Chennai, so my cousin used to say, hey, you know what, Suresh, you have to spend more time when you're away. I said the only way to call is to either get a calling card from Puerto Rico or Mexico and call from there and get in touch. But she said, no, we have to get in touch with you more often. So I said, I have no other way. So she introduced something to me that changed my life. So she took me to an internet cafe and she introduced Yahoo Chat. This was in 2000. So she introduced Yahoo Chat, and I told her, hey, listen, I have no idea how to actually typewrite, because I was thinking in order to know computers, I need to know how to typewrite. I said, all I know was to chop vegetables and cook. I don't know how the internet works. So I said, I don't know how to typewrite. I don't know how to switch on a computer. I don't know what is the internet, and I don't know what is Yahoo Chat. You expect me to learn all of these things in 1 week or 2 weeks? She said, don't worry. So she introduced me to Yahoo Chat, created this account for me, and she showed me, this is how you chat in this environment. You can chat with anybody in the world. And I saw this was a fascinating thing, because for me, it was superb, because I've never experienced something like this. So I saw the opportunities, and then I realized, if I get an opportunity anytime, I'm going to learn this whole thing called the internet. So I went back to the ship, worked there for a couple of years, and my friend called me to an Indian restaurant. So I worked in the Indian restaurant for a few months, and unfortunately he had to shut down his restaurant, and I was jobless. So I was jobless, and he found a job. He put me in a gas station. So I was a cashier in a gas station. So one thing I did not know anything about the cash register as well. So I learned I have to learn that. So I made a lot of friends, and one particular person came to me, and he said, he was talking about Indian food and culture. So he asked me, Suresh, why don't you come down to my house? We'll have some barbecue. So I went to his house, and I saw almost 15 people working in computers. I had no idea. So I asked John, what is that you guys do? He said, we run a web designing company. Then I said, John, I always wanted to learn this computers. Will you give me an opportunity to do an intern or any exposure where I can learn? So he said, sure, why not? So I opened up the store from 6 o'clock till 3 o'clock. And from 3 o'clock, I went there and I started to learn this whole thing called the internet and digital. Those days, it is only SEO and blogging. So slowly I started to learn search engine optimization, and then learn Google Ads. Then blogging came into place, and I started to blog. So they hired me part-time, they hired me full-time. So I was working there for 6 years, and then I came back to India. I was in Bangalore, and I was looking for a lot of, is there any event in Bangalore where, like right now we have webinar. So those days I was looking for an event where we can network with people. There was no event. So then I decided, okay, why don't I start an event? So we started an event, and around 75 people turned up for that event, offline event. And we were just exchanging digital and social media and things like that. So slowly it became a community, and we have around 15,000 people in the community. But being involved in the community, I realized there's proper need for education system, especially in digital and social media, because it's not taught in MBA. At least now they are having, but those days they did not have. So that made me to quit my job, and I started Web Marketing Academy. So this is how I started Web Marketing Academy. But the reason I'm telling you this is, when I started, I did not have any money. So I quit my job. All I know is, like, I have to start. I did not have anything. So there was not much of investment, but I know that I want to educate, and I want to bring this education system. So I spent like around 8,000 to 10,000 rupees to get the website up, and all I had was, so the complete from 2011 when I started the Marketing Academy, I used all the free tools that is available. Almost all of the things. I never did marketing, but I was using all the tools and all the content that we used to have. So every month we used to conduct events in IIMB, Christ University. So we use a network. This event is what we were promoting. So for example, we took all the events and we had pictures and videos, and converted that events, that takeaways, into blog posts. So I did all of these things, and I did organically, like for example, not spending much on ads. I did not spend anything on ads. So I slowly started to build all of those things. So now if somebody wants to start, or somebody wants to do in online, the opportunity is high, but not as, when I started, it was easy because there was not much competition. But today the competition is high, right? However, there are still opportunities, especially during this period of time. Especially during this period, every company wants to save money. So that's what I'm going to give a couple of few things that I'm going to talk about. So one, I'm going to give you some tools and some apps. So the first thing is, people want to research, like, other speakers who are talking about, the importance of research. Yes, it is. So now, where can you find information? So Google has got this amazing thing called Think with Google. So that's a great place to actually look into how user-consumer behavior is changing. Especially, they published a report recently, how India is searching. So that report is an amazing report. So Think with Google, how India searches. So we are completely seeing the shift in the way that people search. So that is important for any company or any business, because we are trying to understand the user and then giving them what they want. So if you understand that, so Think with Google is a great tool, and check out those recent report called What India Searches For. Facebook has got Facebook IQ. It's a great tool to actually do all the research and find, again, user behavior. LinkedIn has got LinkedIn for Business. Even recently, they published the Sophisticated Marketers Guide from LinkedIn. So these are great tools and places to actually start with the research. That's number one. So number two, today there are so much of tools for free. You don't need to spend a lot of money, right? So you have a lot of tools. So the examples, tools and apps. Specifically, if you're looking for content, I would say Canva. Get familiar with Canva app and canva.com. Mostly it is free for images. For video, you have Quick App. That is also free. Quick App, QUIKAPP. That is from GoPro. It's got video creation you can do. And Lumen 5 is another app and a website where you can give a link to your blog. It automatically converts to a video. AI, so it is taking everything, your blog, convert to a video and publish it in YouTube, right? So these are some of the tools I would say. Apart from that, Instagram and TikTok, yes, TikTok has got great inbuilt tools. Instagram has got this story filters and all of these tools. You can make use of that one to be creative. So use Instagram tools, TikTok tools, inbuilt tools. It's got amazing features. That app has got amazing things. So utilize those tools, I would say. And then third thing is, how do we stand out? Yes, you have tools, you have content. How do we stand out? I mean, today, the important thing is there's so much of content in social media. The way to stand out is creativity. So everybody can create, but number one is creativity. Making sure that, when they're scrolling through all of those things, what makes that piece of content a thumb-stopping image or thumb-stopping video? So focus a little bit of creativity. Everything else you can learn. Creativity is something that grabs that attention. So online, you have to get the attention. In order to get the attention, you have to be creative. Second, you got the attention, then you tell a story. Tell your story, a powerful story, and then be consistent. Educate people. So when you're creating content, keep in mind your content should either educate or entertain or inspire or engage. So this is what I would say, 3 things from my end, but I'm looking forward for answering your questions. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. That was
Thank
really
you.
amazing. You spoke about digital marketing strategies for the corporates, and you also mentioned about how do you get yourself into digital marketing streams so that you have your own branding skill developed so fast by using all this Instagram and TikToks and this inbuilt LinkedIn business and stuff. I really liked your talk. Thanks for being on Planetech Media House. We'll surely have an interaction session once all the speakers are done with the talk. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And now let's get back to the webinar sessions with crafting transformative information. We do have our next speaker, who is Madhu Joshi, who is a partner and CM at Drum Up Media Marketing Frame and also an entrepreneur. We welcome you on the platform of Planetech Media House. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Dhanush. Hi, everyone. And I think so far we had some amazing talk by my co-panelists, and I think it's great to understand their insights about marketing overall or specific areas and agendas to do with corporate marketing strategy. My personal journey before being an entrepreneur has been with brand marketing, rather corporate brand marketing, and I've worked with several organizations in the past. Hence, I experienced something which I'm going to talk about today, which is CSR marketing and how it is relevant to your overall corporate marketing strategy. So before I start my talk, I want to mention a quote, which is something like, "Goodness is the only investment that never fails." This is a beautiful quote by the American poet and philosopher Henry David Thoreau, and this is so relevant to do with the corporate social responsibility that we hear about in organizations, because this is one investment which never fails from a lot of perspective. It's not just about how much returns it gives you in terms of you being more profitable as a company, but it's also about how your stakeholders begin to relate to you at a much deeper level. So my personal journey in marketing, which started years back, it's kind of got to do with how I saw CSR, and CSR, I think all of us know one thing about CSR agenda in companies. It's been there for a long time. It's nothing new to us. This term about corporate social responsibility or social responsibility is nothing new to us. Companies always had this. They always had this one, core objective to fulfill, that every year I'm going to, invest into something which profits my community and benefits my society as a whole. But the question to ask is, how much have we really taken CSR seriously in a way that we know how much it's really impacting the organization, the employees, and at the same time helping us to further stitch our comprehensive corporate marketing strategy together. Now, there are several companies I can, without even naming them for that matter, that we know of, have done considerably well when it comes to their corporate social marketing agenda. But I think we need to look at it a little more holistically, because now it's a culture of startups. Now it's a culture of new companies emerging in our country. We are seeing global trends coming up, and we need to consciously understand, are we doing the CSR marketing or the CSR agenda for corporate marketing the right way? Is there something we need to unlearn? Is there something we need to rethink about the way we conduct or take up initiatives as far as CSR goes? So in essence, I just to give a definition to what CSR marketing is, it's basically your business model, or I would not even use the word business. It's a model which helps you reach out to your community through social, environmental factors by contributing into those areas through your company, through your organization, right? And hence it's pretty relevant today to understand what's working and really what's not working, and what are the areas we really need to rethink about. So who are these stakeholders? First of all, corporate marketing is a bit different from the typical marketing that we know of, right? Marketing is a vast subject, but when we specify it in the context of a corporate marketing, what we mean is that it's to do with your stakeholders, like your investors. It's to do with your stakeholders like your employees. It could be your vendors. It could be the media, for example. So it's kind of centering around these stakeholders that you want to finally impact and reach out to and get them involved into your company's vision and mission. Why is CSR marketing gaining so much of importance today? So one thing which I personally noticed is, which I was mentioning earlier, was that earlier companies had a CSR agenda. So I used to listen in my personal meetings, and people used to say, okay, what do we do this year? What are the activities we need to conduct this year? Okay, let's do environment. Okay, let's do something for the underprivileged children. It was all over, it was everywhere. It was a bit fragmented, I would say, because for companies didn't know how effectively they were linking their vision and the mission with the CSR agenda. It was always about, okay, doing something. We got to do something. We have a budget this year with us. We've got to invest that budget into this category. So let's do something. Come up with ideas, brainstorm, let's analyze. And it was always this good to have, okay, let's have something done for the CSR. Let's do something good for the society. It's good to have. But today, when the corporate marketing has to take a new shift, it has to look at a new way of, looking at how we have been dealing with our CSR strategy. We have to understand it's very important to have a clear linkage of your CSR strategy with what you believe as a company. And I think this is where a lot of times we go wrong. When we set up our CSR agenda, are we sure how effectively we are linking it, what our brands are, what brands are we into, what industry are we into, what businesses are we into, or are we just doing it because we, or rather one CEO of the company or the owner of the company firmly believes in a cause? It could at times work in certain cases, but if you want to involve your stakeholders holistically, if you want to involve everybody in this journey of CSR based marketing, you've got to understand how effectively you're linking your CSR agenda with your brand's vision and mission. If you're a company which deals into garments, how effectively you are linking. Are you linking it with something to do with environment? Are you linking it with something to do with recycling? If you're into FMCG, is there anything about saving the world, like banning the plastic, for example? So is there a linkage to what you believe in? Or it's just about, I just feel like doing it kind of a scenario. So that's something which is very relevant when you're evolving your corporate marketing strategy and focusing on your CSR part. You've got to pay a lot of relevance to this aspect. The second and a very, very important aspect are the employees here. Now, employees play a very crucial role in making sure that the CSR marketing or a CSR agenda or an initiative of your company is successful in the long term. And I've heard several times a lot of companies and the employees mentioning that, why am my team not involved or do not feel accountable for the CSR strategy of the company? What's missing here? Why do they feel, is there something not right here? Why don't they, like, we organize, let's say we organize a charity tour, or we organize an activity which we have to step out of our offices and go out and help people set up camps or medical camps or whatever. Why are employees not taking active part always? Or why do they do it because it's just like one duty given to them? It's because of the same fact that I've already said, that it's a lot to do with how closely they link it with the company's vision and mission, which they are a part of. Are we effectively linking it? So that's where we have to bridge that gap. We have to make the employees believe that our company stands for this. our company is into the business of this. And this is why our CSR strategy revolves around this aspect. And this is why we are benefiting the society. We would love to go further. We would love to do much more. But I think there is a need to have a specific framework around your corporate CSR strategy. So in this way, what are the things that we need to keep in mind? What are the key steps that we have to basically figure out? The one important part is that we have to clearly define our CSR agenda. We have to clearly understand, I've said this several times already, is clearly understand the objective, what you're trying to achieve, and never look at that objective as a short-term goal. It's a very long-term process. It's something, it is sustainable. It needs to be sustainable, and it's going to go on. Your generations and generations of your company, if you're a 100-year-old organization, got to start that journey from the beginning, and you see your generations following it in the future. Even if you're a new company who is begin to feel more conscious about contributing back to your society, you've got to again, have a long-term plan and a long-term approach so that it doesn't fizzle out. It's not, and the sad and the scariest part is that if it fizzles out, it loses credibility. And if it loses credibility, you in front of your customer lose credibility equally. So you have to be extremely careful in the way you're devising your CSR agenda. And then comes a step when you have to effectively communicate internally. I'm not even gone external right now. You've got to effectively communicate internally to your employees that this is what we are into, this is what we believe in, and you are the trendsetters now. You've got to go out and make sure that our company is successful in achieving this CSR marketing strategy that we've set for us. And a very, very important point in this entire step, which I want to talk about, is I've heard a lot of companies now, and this is extremely debatable, because a lot of companies say that we don't, and I have personally worked with corporate organizations in the past where a company said that we don't want to talk about what we do from a CSR agenda. We don't want to, they shy away. They literally shy away from marketing it. So, that we call, or rather promoting it. So the question here is to promote or not to promote. There could be ways of how we look at it, but let's admit one thing. It's a simple fundamental that, if you do good, you've got to spread the goodness around you, right? Obviously, your tone, your content, the way you put your content across, the way you put your messaging across, obviously doesn't need to be promotional in nature so that it doesn't sound like a marketing gimmick. It needs to have a lot of credibility in what you do or say. But if you shy away from hiding what you're actually doing as a part of your CSR agenda, then you're actually not, you're just making your entire exercise of your corporate marketing strategy linked with CSR null and void. Because you've got to reach out to people and tell them this is how you're helping the society, motivate them. I've seen examples where other companies, or rather a different set of other employees have got motivated to do something for their own organization and for their own society. So, this is my very personal belief that you've got to show it. Just the only difference is you've got to show it the right way. You've got to market it. You've got to speak about it, okay, from a leadership perspective, from an employee's perspective. And that's how more and more people will get linked with your company's vision and mission about fulfilling your CSR agenda. So I think in a nutshell, and a very important part of my talk here is about today's time. We are all in a COVID-19 phase right now. And what's important to know that CSR was never this important as much as it is today. And it's going to grow further from here on. It may come up, we may have a new term for CSR in the future, I don't know. But what I'm trying to say is trust is going to play a major role now. People have become wary of a lot of things, like we sitting at home during this lockdown have understood the relevance of how much we can do for the society. We're feeling this itch in us, to go out and do something good. We are seeing the world crashing right now, right, in so many ways. And we have this urge in us to do something good when we are out in the open. And let's keep this urge alive inside us. And this is how companies are going to behave. So it's time for companies to reinvent their CSR strategy. It's time for companies to look at their agenda once again during this phase to figure out, is there something they need to change? Is there something they need to evolve as far as their CSR corporate marketing strategy is concerned? And whether you talk about millennials, you talk about any set of your customers, trust is going to play a major role, and trust will further build on if you look and behave more credible. So I think, as a concluding remark to my talk, I would like to say one thing, that when we as organizations and marketers or corporate marketers are sitting down and evolving our corporate marketing strategy, keeping CSR in mind, we have to behave very organic. We have to look at CSR as an organic and a very consistent and a sustainable exercise to increase the brand equity, to increase the way people begin to trust us, or rather improve our trust score. And with the digital world today, I think understanding the measuring the sentiment, everything becomes very easy. So it's time to further capitalize on these assets. It's time to further capitalize on a lot of things and keep going with a very organic approach about CSR marketing. So this is all from me. Thanks so much.
That was really amazing to hear about CSR marketing scheme from you, ma'am. We really learned a lot of new things, and hope all the organizations,
Thank you.
entrepreneurs, and business head would surely just have and check with their CSR strategies and the marketing skills so that they can develop more after the post-COVID or something. Thank you for being on the Planet Tech Media House. We're glad to have you here.
Thank you.
And let's get back to the sessions. And our next speaker would be Neha Gupta De, who's a global marketing director, woman leader, young marketing leader, and also into media and sales planning. We welcome you to the platform of Planet Tech Media House. Over to you, ma'am.
Hi, Dhanush. Thank you so much. Hello, everybody. First of all, I would like to offer my deep condolence to Mr. Hetal for for the unfortunate. Obviously, there's nothing more that you can lose in your life than losing your family member. And while I wouldn't want to take it as an example, but I would say that of all of us who've spoken today, and very eloquent speakers, everybody's spoken really passionately. I would say the brand which has gotten built today is that of Hetal. We all will always remember that there was a panelist who came, who was so focused and dedicated to what he wanted to offer, that at this time as well he decided and to share his knowledge with all of us. And I think that's what any brand building is. So the point I'm trying to make today is that we all think to build a brand, you have to be a Coke, you have to be a McDonald's, you have to be up there spending those millions of dollars and go all out, do a lot of advertising. And when I see a lot of audience today in our talk is also entrepreneurs, MSMEs, students who are going out and maybe starting small. Every business starts small, and the brand is not built through just marketing and advertising. I think we as marketers help a lot of molding of how we represent our brand, but brand is built at every touch point. The way we treat our employees, the way we treat our channel partners, how do we keep on thinking of how the product needs to get changed. There's so much of change that we are going to see in the market in today's time, with COVID, pre-COVID and post-COVID. A lot of people in hospitality industry, in foods, in travel are going to take a lot of transition. Now a brand which knows what is their core ethos, a brand which knows this is what I want to stand for, will modify with that. So a brand which, like an Airbnb, which commits to giving you an experience of living like a local, they have to see how do they still commit and stay true to the promise that they want to give. And maybe if they decide that it's been time, that the world has changed, and maybe this promise is not relevant enough, they have to move on. So one of the things that I always look at doing as a brand custodian, and I would encourage everybody who's maybe an MD of the company, of a small company, or a sales head of a team, please see that you and your team define and agrees on what is the brand that you stand for, or what is the brand that the company stand for, that, and what is the core purpose of your existence. Because if we are not clear on that, how will we go out and talk to our B2B customers and say, why am I here? Why do I still believe in working in the organization that I still work at? So I'm at every touch point that comes to us, it could be implicit, but we may not, like Madhu very nicely talked about, CSR getting inbuilt, and your employees should feel in that philosophy. Now, if you do not know what your philosophy is, then how will you extend it to CSR as well? So similarly, do you want to pass on discounts for the sake of getting customers? You do not know whether they'll be good customers or not. As an organization, are we somebody who's completely EBITDA focused, or you're looking at something where you're going to increase the market share? And for that objective, how are we going to behave in the market? How am I going to talk to a vendor who wants to start, who's growing small, maybe wants to grow with me? I have been with fantastic brands earlier who have grown small, who were one of the telecoms I used to work with was 4-5 circle operator, and we had vendors who were working with us since that time. They passed on discounts, we agreed on certain terms and conditions, and both of us grew. So when two brands are growing together, it's such a win-win for both of them. So maybe when you are small, it is important that you say, okay, I see this is my ethos, this is my principles. Maybe this business partner has a similar ethos and principles. Why don't we partner with each other and grow stronger? And I think also, though I use the word vendor, I try and at least behave with my and in marketing you work with a lot of external partners, and it's important that how you treat them when they come to visit you. Are you sure you're meeting them at the right time that you're giving them the commitment for? If it's a 3 o'clock meeting, let's meet at 3 o'clock, right? And if God forbid you've not been able to make it at 3 o'clock, they couldn't make it, or you have something being stuck, please apologize. I think that is something which is also which builds your personal brand. Obviously, like Ritika talked about, it also brings your company brand. I've been in with an organization where all meetings used to start dot at time, and at times we used to, if there's a conference going on, there used to be sessions supposed to start at 4, they used to start at 3:30, because I realized there was no smokers. Thanks to the fantastic smokers we have in our audience, they decide, 3 o'clock, we're supposed to start the meeting. Let's go and have a fag and come. And no offense to any of the 4 smokers, while I think in this COVID term, you should try and cut down to as much as you can. But these are the things that the company stands for. And it's gotten into my habit as well, that if any meeting has to happen, it has to start on time. Otherwise, I'm supposed to apologize to the person who's coming there. So I think that's what I feel and thoroughly believe in, that everybody in your team, first of all, or rather we should be clear as whoever is the core group, what do we stand for? And then there should be a good buy-in to everybody at every touch point. This is how we will behave. This is how we will act in our business. Another thing I was thinking of is that, with COVID being changing the world, and customers being supposed to behave very differently, maybe we all should start also thinking what is going to be, will we start living in a world where everybody will say, hey, let's go to the mindset of 60s of India and start saving a lot? Or should we go to the mindset of being Western and today's the time? Because at least with me, it keeps on happening. There are days where I keep on wondering, okay, where is the business going to go? And then there are days where I say, hey, if something is going to happen, it's going to happen. Let me live the day that I'm living at. So I would say that there's a time that we start going to basics with regards to what is my business standing for? Is it relevant for today or not? What is the change that I need to bring in? And then look at your customers, what is the change that they need? You may be running a fantastic daily business and your customer is not comfortable with your, you being all natural and you're saying, hey, I pump my milk out, but your customer is not comfortable. Then you as a business has to ensure that things which are safe, which are reliable and healthy, they remain as the forefront of what your consumer needs, at least at a short term. Till the time we all are comfortable with the way the world has changed, the way we want things to be absorbed into. So I think it's a good time for all of us who are already into our business to reflect and say, are we relevant or not? And those who are not into, I would really encourage you to sit down with your core team, define why do we exist? What is it that we bring to the world? And is this what my customer wants? You could be as narrow or as broad as you want to. Otherwise, we can keep on doing as much of advertising, as much of CSR, as much of personal branding. It will, if everything will not marry together and come to the same, I would say, a conclusion, people will find you as a schizophrenic brand. They'll say, hey, I'm not sure, maybe it's a good short-term brand, but I'm not sure if I want to commit to it at a long-term level. I think these were some of the things that I had in my mind, and I can take more questions when Dhanush has it there. Thank you.
That was really amazing to hear, and how to build a brand on a corporate and accelerate the corporate business. So it was so good to have to hear that from you. I really learned a lot of things from your side too, ma'am. I hope all the entrepreneurs and the workers out there would also use these kind of strategies in their own branding things to have their accelerating business. Thank you so much for being on the Planetech Media House.
Thank you.
And we do have our next speaker, Megha Mishra, who is a branding and strategy analyst. I would like to get you on over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me over. And we heard a lot of good and interesting insights. I hope the audience is liking it. So we heard about different aspects, and I'm going to cover about the communication piece. How communication is the key to success for all brand marketing strategies. So I will start with the quotation. Basically, they say, you can't sell anything if you can't tell anything. So I guess it's very important to be a very good storyteller. So like we know, what is marketing? Marketing is essentially, the integrated marketing communication is, way of looking at the entire marketing process, the whole marketing process from the point of view of the consumers. And when you build a rapport with the consumer, then you're able to sell. And I will come to, to the aspect how it will automatically sell, upsell. So starting first, it would be like, how do you build this rapport with the consumer? The first key ingredient of this is you need to have good conversations with the consumer. And how do you have good conversations? I mean, because there are plenty of brands, everybody is trying to talk with the consumers. So there are so many things. Everybody wants to reach out to that single customer and wants to upsell, wants to scale and market them well. So what is the key? The key is building trust with the brand. So, for example, I will want to talk about one particular, strategy. I think we are all aware of the case wherein there's a leading chocolate brand, and some time back there were worms in that chocolate. So the sales went down. What did the brand do? The brand roped in Amitabh Bachchan. So why did the brand roped in Amitabh Bachchan? Because Amitabh Bachchan has the credibility amongst the consumers. There was no fancy communication. It was a simple TV ad, TV commercial, wherein Amitabh Bachchan came forward. He spoke about, this chocolate is safe to consume. The packaging has been changed. I eat it. Even my family members, my grandchildren eat it. So there was a connect. And after that, the sales of the brand were back to normal. So they were able to use essentially the use of through the credibility that Mr. Amitabh Bachchan enjoyed with the consumers, and they were able to turn around this particular aspect in their strategy. Then, what the other key thing about Amitabh Bachchan was in this particular ad was that he was very authentic. He did not talk about fancy stuff, and being authentic is the key to communication for all brands. If you look at it, for example, we have this, so much problem with the pandemic and everything. And we have our Prime Minister talk about Atmanirbhar Abhiyan. So then what happened was he was talking about, all the Indian brands. There should be more brands, there should be more startups, more people coming up into the manufacturing things, coming up, trying to take a lead. So what happened the next day? Vocal for Local was trending across the different platforms. You could see all the brands talking about being that how we are connected. You had ITC Foods, that we have been in this. We are an Indian brand. We had Britannia. We had other brands. In fact, an interesting brand that I would want to mention about was Xiaomi. Xiaomi is a Chinese brand. But what Manu Kumar Jain, the CEO, came up with was the aspect of that we manufacture in India. The people who are manufacturing these products are Indians. So we are very much Indian. So basically, every Indian brand was trying to build the connect with the Indian audience, and there was certain kind of emotions that were flying very high during this tenure. So everybody wanted to be relatable, to be authentic, to be connected. Then, so authenticity, building trust, these are some of the aspects that brand marketers have to keep in mind while building their communication. The other key aspect is defining your target audience. So you need to create customer avatars. Now, yesterday I was talking about it with one of my clients, and he said, "Yeah, Shiv ji ka avatar suna tha, Vishnu ji ka avatar suna tha, ye customer avatar kya hai?" So I said, "Don't worry, it's not as complicated as it seems. It's a very simple process of understanding the consumer very well. So you need to understand and define the consumer persona, and and how you can attain it. So I would like to talk about it in a little more detailed manner. So basically what you need to do is you need to segment your customers. You can segment your customers on the basis of geography. So in geography, you need to segment it on the basis of location, city, country, urban, rural India, radius around a certain location, because geo-targeting has to be done in the digital marketing space. Then the other segmentation has to be done on the basis of demography, on the basis of age, gender, income, family size, annual income, education levels. Other key important segmentation strategy is that tool is behavioral segmentation, which is essentially very important from a marketing perspective, because it helps to understand the purchasing habits, the spending habits, the brand interactions that the consumer is having, and the status of the user. So by looking at the recency of purchase, by looking at the frequency of purchase, a marketer is able to define in which, where does the brand interactions are, how is the consumer interacting with me. So this will help to devise a befitting strategy related to the consumer, related to those consumer personas. Then the other important segmentation is psychographic segmentation, which is based on lifestyle, values, beliefs, personality traits, priorities, and interests in life. It is very important to know where your customer is, what he is doing, where is he hanging out the most. For example, if your customer is a 22-year-old boy who is, who is into Instagram, so the brand needs to target the customer over there. Then, so essentially what we have done is we've understood the customer well. We've understood, we have created this cohorts and consumer personas, and we target them accordingly. It's very important, even for startups who are starting up. I mean, it's not required that you require a whole, millions of and tons of money to do this customer research. You can float in a Google survey form amongst the relevant target audience and speak up. I think a lot of brands who have been able to build a very good customer base, loyalty base, they have doing very well on this, interacting with the customers. So speak to the customers, try to understand what he is doing, what kind of, and then what the benefit of this entire strategy is that you are basically eliminating the people who are on the edge. You're only focusing on the people who are at the center. So this helps to even communicate better, which is more relatable, which is more targeted and more focused. And this will help you to build a very good story around the customer. So now, you know where your customer, who your customer is, what your customer does. And now, how do you communicate? I mean, it should be a formal language, informal language. What kind of language do you want the customer to target? So for that, a very important tool is content research. I really can't emphasize more on how content research is extremely important, extremely critical for all the brand marketers. So, and there are lots of tools that are available. So for example, during COVID-19 times, we find a lot of people, searching for immunity building, immunity building ways. So if you are selling products which help to build immunity, then you can actually target in that particular language to the consumer that, okay, don't worry, don't fear about corona, and we will help you to build, we will help you to stay healthy. Similarly, you need to understand, the pain points. You need to solve for those pain points. For example, during these times, we find, a lot of parlors and food delivery chains, they're already talking about the most important thing that they're talking about is the hygiene parameters, because hygiene is the most critical pain point of the customer when he or she is visiting a parlor, or when he or she is accepting a food order from a restaurant chain. So it is so the brands have understood this. They're not talking about those fancy jargons and all the other things that they used to talk in the pre-COVID era. Everybody is talking about hygiene. They're talking about this product is safe to consume. So essentially, they have read and understood the consumer problems. They have read and understood the consumer pain points, and they're trying to target essentially on that particular pain point. And you can actually find, for marketers, I would recommend that you should, try to understand your customers and search, on the reviews on Amazon, on Google, on Quora, on FB forums, and there's so many FB groups. Try to understand what are the kind of interactions the consumer is having on the different social media channel. And after you have understood, so I guess if you have understood your customer very well, you've understood, what are his pain points, you have devised a persona for that consumer, for a particular consumer segment, you can essentially weave a very good story. And that story, I can give my word for it, it will be very relatable, it will be very authentic, it will be very real. And the consumer will feel, wow, is this communication designed only for me? So he will feel very empowered. And these are very simple techniques, search techniques, feedback techniques. So what happens once you do all this? What is the end result of all these activities? You have done content research, you have built your different consumer personas, and you're targeting them well. What happens is you have built a base of your own followers, very strong followers who would be your product advocates. And then the marketer can connect to them through different offline and online media channels. So I won't delve into that in the interest of time. However, digital marketing has picked up, dramatically during these times, because that's the major way for consumer outreach during these days. So when you have these, followers, you can target, build a social media strategy, an SEO strategy. Then email marketing is a very interesting tool. So through all these tools, you can actually sell, upsell, and keep reselling and keep getting your consumer. And these your consumers will be your brand ambassadors. So to conclude, I would say if you have to devise a very good communication strategy, a brand has to devise a very good communication strategy for your consumers. You need to be authentic, you need to be real, you need to have the confidence of the consumers, you need to build the multiple consumer personas and target them accordingly, and do content research to understand the pain points, use that particular language, and your brand will be a hit amongst the consumers. Thank you. I look forward to the questions now.
It was really amazing that you gave a very good talk about communication strategies which should be used in a particular industry, and about a personal branding and stuff. I really liked about your insights and your kind of giving and outcomes of all this informative. It was very good to have you on a Planetech Media House platform. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
And let's have the question session. I would like to call upon Ritika Madan ma'am. Well, the question for Ritika Madan ma'am is that you spoke about this personal branding. What are the skills for a personal branding, or skills for a woman entrepreneur?
Well, all right. Thank you for this question. I'll just quickly wrap it up, in 3 pointers that, first, as shared by my fellow mate, Neha, that you have to be genuine. that is genuine, is in a way that it is an easy way to have an original, personal brand, but you have to be genuine and, authentic in a way that, people can see right through your acts, your posters, your artwork. And obviously you don't have to be a copycat, otherwise people will just call out you a puppeteer for that. And you have to be very engaging, and your audience has to be meaningfully, they have to align your vision with what they are expecting. So in the first case, you have to be very genuine and authentic. Second pointer would be that, be ready to fail. That is one of the most important skill sets or the attributes that we should develop as an entrepreneur. However, to have your personal brand that rises above the rest, you need to have a failure in mind. I talk about a point, where Walt Disney spoke of this, that, when he reminisced about his failed first attempts of creating an animation brand. So never be frightened of failure. That's what keeps you strong. And the third one, as reinforced by Megha, my fellow colleague, that about storytelling, that let other people tell your story. Your word of mouth, I would say nowadays the word of mouth is extremely important. Share your personal stories through your live videos and your occasional webinars, and keep feeding people with the interpretation of your brand. And so, as I said in the beginning also, that personal branding is the story, what people tell about you when you're not in the room. So all you have in your life is your name and the reputation that you garner. So these are 3 pointers that I would like to share.
That was really informative about the question of entrepreneurs, just not for the women, even for the men would like to follow all these kinds of 3 thoughts.
Yes,
That
I
would
complete with the gender parity.
but still, that was an amazing informative answer for all the entrepreneurs out there. And I wish every entrepreneur out there after post-COVID would be successful with using this kind of informative points. Thank you so much for being on Planetech Media House. It was glad to have you here, Ma.
Same here. Thank you, and all the best, and thank you for everyone. To your amazing platform for getting us all together and share our insights. It was great meeting each one of you. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ma. And well, the next question goes to Hital Sonpal, sir. You shared some interesting points on marketing trend post Corona and lockdown. Do you believe these changes are short term, or many of these likely to be around permanent?
Good question, Dhanush. I think it's subject to debate, depending on which industry we are referring to and what type of media we are talking about. I think some changes are permanent. I think the shift to digital, or the emphasis on digital, is, I think, here to stay. The digital education as a channel is likely to grow significantly. So anything around marketing for digital education is definitely around to stay. So I think there are certain things which are going to be permanent. What's not going to be permanent, obviously, is the impact on hotel, tourism, and travel. I don't think we can live without going for our holidays once in a while. I don't think we can live without a fine dining experience. I think it's going to come back, and it's going to come back with a bang. I think the restaurant industry needed some churning, because there were too many restaurants, too many food outlets, too many choices, and the consumer was being taken for a ride, literally speaking, in name of variety. So yeah, with the due feeling sorry for people who have to shut down their business in these tough times. Yes, I think the consumer is king, and I think these industries will come out much better. So to answer your question, I think some segments, some developments are permanent, but there are some which are temporary. And I would love that everyone who's having a tough time gets out of that tough time really soon and starts making money all over again.
Thank you. That was really, that was.
It was awesome to be a part of this panel discussion. Look forward to a similar initiative from Planetech in the future. And all the best to other fellow panelists as well. I hope you have a good session. Unfortunately, I need to log out. So good going. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much for being on Planetech Media House. We're glad to have you here.
Thank you. Bye.
Well, and the next question would be for Suresh Babu, sir. How can you categorize digital marketing? How does this categorization help the potential customers?
Okay, so categories. So you're asking what are the different channels, or what is? Can you explain a little bit more? What
Because
is
digital marketing consists of categories in each sectors. So how would this help a particular customer to like get his self branding out, or how do he do that?
Yeah. So now, if we talk about digital, there are various things. It's not just using digital for marketing. That's the main thing, right? Everybody thinks that we can market through digital, but I think rather than marketing, like others who are also telling that, it's a great digital is a great platform to build relationship, to educate and build relationship, and have the conversation going, right? Nobody wants to be sold today. I mean, 10 years before, people can sell something, but that's not how it works now. People are going for social media and other places not to be sold, but to see what others are doing. So it's a great platform if it is done right. It will be a great platform to actually educate, build trust, and have the communication. So we look at different channels. Now they have in digital, we have website and apps is a main thing, right? So it's like something that we own, and then we have search engine optimization, and we have Google Ads. Then in social media also we have organic and then the paid part, and then we have email marketing, influencer marketing, you name it, right? Content and Google Analytics. But categorizing into multiple things, these different things of it, where now for a brand we need to identify, like after doing a lot of research and identifying where my target audience are spending time. So choosing that specific channel, and then understanding the channel and say, okay, this I want to target 50 to 25. They are in social media, but what in social media? Are they spending time in Facebook? Today they might spend more time in Instagram and Snapchat and various other places, right? So understanding that, and then based on that, I create content, and then I educate them and I entertain them, or I inspire in those channels where they are present, and creating content specifically tailored to them, which makes a difference, right? So categorizing and then understanding the users and understanding what's the kind of channels, what kind of content. It's not just content like nowadays. If I'm targeting people, we need to have like 30 seconds or less than 30 seconds video. So I have to create things in mind, and then it allows us to target and to reach out to the right people at the right time.
That was really amazing. Yes, that was really amazing to have you about this. You mentioned about search engine optimizations and website optimizations and all these digital marketing screens are blooming out there. And this is the right time for all the people to have their own organization or entrepreneurship to get rise into the perfect digital marketing stream, because we have a lot of time spending on all the social medias and stuff. Thank you so much for your informative answers, sir. And thank you so much for being on Planetech Media House. We're glad to have you here.
Welcome. Thank you.
Yes, sir. And the next question would be Madhu Joshi, ma'am. Over to you. Yes, ma'am. The question for you is, how do you determine whether marketing strategy has been successful or not?
Well, yeah. So anything related to marketing needs to be measurable. If it's not measurable, then it's not done as. Now, digital is not just confined to your promotions on social media like Facebook or Instagram about measuring the engagement rate or measuring the views, etc. It's even about knowing the public sentiment. It's about knowing your employee sentiment about your company, what they feel. It's all possible through different. There are different tools available. There are different ways of measuring. Linking it with what your objective is. So if your objective is to retain more employees or create a strong culture in your organization, including sentiments about what a person feels about a brand, how a person responds to a brand, and what happens to an activity conducted with that objective in mind, is all easily measurable.
Well, that's really amazing to know about those marketing strategies. Yes, ma'am. Sorry for there was a technical issue from the Zoom side. Really sorry from that. Am I audible right now?
Yes.
Yes. Sorry for that, ma'am. Really sorry for that. Well, that was really informative answer. I could actually hear your answer, but the video was stuck down. I would really thank you for being on the Planetech Media House. I'm really glad to have you here, ma'am.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure for me as well. Thanks, Anush.
And the next would be Neha Gupta Dhimam. The question is, how can a corporate brand be built?
So, like we spoke, Dhanush, a corporate brand can be built by somebody who starts the company. The brand can be built by every member of the brand. However, it's important that everybody believes in what the brand stands for. So, I think it's important that we start with what are we here to do, how are we here to do, and what do we want people to think about us, or what do we want to gain. I think for the most important question, be it an individual or a company, is why do we exist. So by the time we know why do we exist, it's important for us to start any conversation and say, okay, here I am to do this for you. Because if we are just selling, then maybe people do not need us. But if we are helping them somewhere in their life, maybe they will need us. If not today, then maybe tomorrow. So it's important that whenever we start doing anything, like any strategy, you have a strategy for what your brand is. You have a strategy how you will reflect it outside. You may be a small company where with about not even 100 crore, or not even a crore of a revenue, but it's important that you could be a sweet shop, and people need to know that you stand for the natural product sweets. As basic as that. Or you could be $100 million company and you stand for the fact that you want everybody to have a safe shelter above their head. So if we are all aligned and we are clear why we are here for, I think the process is then quite natural. And I'm sure you have people, every company has people who can help them in every direction, but it's the responsibility of the one who's the decision maker to decide why are they there for.
That was really, it is actually 101% true, saying that you can have a sweet shop which has been successful, and we just need unique kind of branding for every entrepreneur to show it up. That is how the corporate branding is actually should be working down. That is really informative answer. That is really informative answer, ma'am. Thank you so much for being on Planetech Media House. We're glad to have you here.
Thank you so much, Dhanush. It was really a great opportunity as well. Look forward. Thank you.
And we would have the last but not the least, Megha Mishra, ma'am. The question for you is, how to do content research?
Very interesting question. Actually, I would love to answer it at length. So the basic, if you want to find about what your consumer is doing, how he's doing, there are lots of ways available now, because we live in a digital world. Maybe 20 years back, this was not easy. We had to do large, quantitative research, qualitative research, spend lakhs of money, do ad pre-testings, and a marketer had to do a whole lot of research studies. But now there are, you can go on and log on to Google. You can search what your consumer is searching for. Is he looking for hygiene? Is he looking for safety? Is he looking for immunity? Is he looking for any other particular aspect? So whatever your brand proposition is, what your brand stands for, so you can search about the consumer on different platforms. So it can be Google, it can be Amazon. See about the reviews. See about competition reviews. That's really important, because if the consumer is not happy with if you're in the same category and trying to start up or trying to establish, scale up, then it's very important to understand what the consumer is talking about, your competitive products. And from there, you will gain insights on how do you target them. You will be able to say, okay, you have this particular, we come out with this particular solution for you. So then there are forums like a lot of forums like FB, then Facebook, for instance. There are a lot of groups for everything and everything. I would repeat that. There are groups on Facebook, and then there is Quora. So all these particular tools can be used to understand your consumer better, to do your content research, to do your brand marketing research, and then devise a effective storytelling strategy and communication strategy to succeed.
That was really amazing to hear about the storytelling and structuring strategies which has been used on the Facebook and the Quora stuff. That I really felt it informative, and I hope all the attendees have enjoyed the session with all the resourceable speakers out there.
I would like to thank you for inviting me over. It was really nice to hear all my co-panelists, and thank you so much, and all the best for all your future endeavors.
Thank you so much for being on Planetech Media House. We're really glad to have you here. And it's a signing off. We'll be ending this webinar right now. It was so glad to have all the resourceable speakers out there. I really had an good time with you guys. It was very good to have conversations. Very good to attend a webinar, being a moderator. Thank you so much, ma'am.